2010, obviously I won the championship. I was sort of at my peak. But then in 11, I was much more ready to win the championship than I was in 2010, for example. Then 19, and in fairness, 20, I was on my way down already. And I'm happy to say that now, because I didn't have that really last ultimate push anymore.
Did you know it at the time?
No, I didn't.
Welcome everybody to F1 Beyond the Grid. I am delighted to say that my guest this week is four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel.
Hi, Tom.
You haven't been on the show for a few years, and damn it, you don't look a year older.
No, I do. Thank you. But I think you don't see yourself time passing by, but there's people reminding me that I started to look older. But it's okay. It's a privilege.
How's life away from the relentlessness of the Formula One paddock? How's life treating you?
Good. I'm still, I'm enjoying life and enjoying the extra time that I have, and I haven't committed to a single thing only. Other than that, I'm doing lots of different things. Getting in touch with new people, learning new things, spending time at home, obviously with the kids is a priority, and I enjoy that. I run a little farm at home. So lots of different things that keep me busy. Other sports, I got into sailing a little bit with SailGP. So yeah, lots of different things.
What about the kids and karting? Anyone showing any interest?
Not directly, but I start to feel a little bit guilty because I feel like it's time to get them on the track. Not because I, would like them to have a career in racing, but just to have the opportunity to get a little bit of a feel what it's like, because karting is just also fun to do, and it's also something that I think we might be able to enjoy every now and then to do together. They have different interests at the moment in fields that I'm not an expert in, which is okay, and I'm trying to be as passionate about it as I can. But for sure, the racing, if it were racing, it would be a lot more natural. But I think it's soon to happen to go on a go-kart track and give it a go.
We're speaking in Brazil at Interlagos. You've got the T-shirt, F1 Forest. Just tell us a little bit about what this is and why it's important. Okay,
so maybe to start, I was here in Brazil for the Grand Prix as well last year. And I had the project launched around, Ayrton Senna, his legacy 30 years after his accident, remembering that, and was joined by all the drivers, which was great. And during that trip, I took the time to visit the Amazon forest, which was largely made possible by Greenpeace, and really got an insight, not just a tourist trip, but really got an insight to the forest and especially to its people. So I met with the Kayapo people and was able to speak to the leaders and their experiences, their lives, which was fascinating and interesting on so many levels. To hear from them how they remember encountering people outside the forest for the very first time, to where they are today, fighting for their forest, because that was the sad part, how much of their land is getting destroyed day by day, claimed by illegally claimed, and then turned into agricultural land or used to for mining, and it destroys the forest and it destroys their home. I was very touched and moved, and I wondered how I could help. Obviously, it's a big problem, and the loss of the Amazon is serious for all of us, because often we hear the Amazon rainforest, the lungs of our planet. We need to preserve it and so on, and yet we are losing ground day by day. So that made me very sad, and I was wondering how I can help. And then I came up with the idea this year to do something. And I looked up in the dictionary what actually is a forest. I think you
Or
sort
give me
of
the
know.
definition.
But the definition is it's an area covered by many trees, which you sort of know when you think about it. But just reading that, I had the idea, okay, how about we grow our own forests? Is it feasible? Can we plant trees? Obviously, there's a lot of complications with that because, I've looked into projects where, trees are planted and it takes time, obviously, and it's great, but it's also complicated. Where do you do it? Which trees? Who's looking after them? How are they doing in 5, 10, 15 years? It's not a short-term thing that you can just do with people and get people excited about. And then I had the idea, well, how about we just everybody draw a tree on a piece of paper, and we collect trees from starting with all the drivers. We collect trees from the paddock community, everybody who's got a paddock pass, and will be a guest this weekend. We collect trees from the fans that have access to the track and will be here and visiting. But beyond, I went to a school. We had kids joining from different backgrounds, rich and poor, younger and older kids. I went to an elderly home. So the oldest lady that was drawing a tree was 90 years old, or is 90 years old still. So collecting all of these trees and then putting them together, and many trees make a forest. We'll have our very own Formula One F1 forest, and displaying them in the fan zone, but also displaying them during the event, but also displaying them on Sunday together with all the drivers just before the drivers' parade. Use the moment to wander through and sort of installation and send a strong message to the world of how important forests are for all of us, how vital they are for the health of our planet. So for sure in Brazil, thinking about the rainforest, but in general, we've lost so much forest around the world, and there's plenty of people who are trying to regrow it and gain it back. But first, we need to stop destroying it. So that's a little bit the idea, to just simply raise awareness around the topic in a nice way and get everybody to be involved.
Sebastian, have you spoken to Pedro Diniz? F1
I have.
driver?
I visited his farm. Yeah, he used to race in Formula One in the
95 to
90s,
2000.
mid-90s. And I remember watching him. And then I got to know him on his farm when I visited, when I heard about actually I read a book, and in the book was lots of different projects of how to turn the planet around and make the world a better place. And he was one of the examples, because he's doing agroforestry, which is basically you're planting trees, but in between the trees you have your cultures, rather than just go monoculture in a single species of trees or a single species of fruit, and having them next to each other like an army and soldiers. You mix it up, and you use the sort of interconnection between trees and your cultures that you're trying to grow, and make both of them benefit. So I visited his place and got in touch, visited his farm and place, and it was very, very cool.
It is very cool. A random fact about Pedro Diniz: he is the largest egg producer in Brazil. There you go. Yeah. So the farm is growing, and he's trying to go circular. It was very interesting at the time as well. We spoke about the forest as well, the rainforest, and how it's illegally getting destroyed and land is claimed. He's very into that. My geography of the world is racetracks and racing drivers, and back in, I'm guessing, 2003, I went to Manaus to interview Antonio Pizzonia. And I was struck by the beauty of it. I mean, yes, in the Amazon we saw pink dolphins and amazing things like that, but just although it's the largest city in the Amazon region, it felt so natural and actually so isolated from the rest of the world as well. It really struck me.
Yeah, I had the same feeling, and I get goosebumps saying this. Just the size of it, we were in a small plane, and all you could see was trees and little hills rolling, and then we got down, and that forest is so dense. It's not like the sort of forest that I know in growing up. where you walk through and maybe you hike a little bit and you can see where you're going. You couldn't walk into the forest because it's too dense, so you need the Majetti to make your way. So yeah, and just to see also the people and the connection they had with the forest and they have with the forest was very, very inspirational. So it was one of the most powerful trips, and like I said before, that's why also it equally moved me, and I felt like, okay, what can we do?
Yeah, you mentioned all the drivers have been drawing pictures of trees. I think you've gathered them all now. Who's done the best one? Who's done the worst one?
I don't. I don't look. No, I don't look at it like that. It's not a challenge. I mean, of course, they all asked. You sense the competitiveness. Like, how did the others do? Show me a picture of what the others drew. It's not the point. The point is, it's something from you. It's a personal thing, and it whether it's a minute you take or 10 minutes or more, and whether it looks realistic or far away from realistic is not the point. And that's what makes it so special. I mean, with kids it was so easy. They just got the pencils and started and went for it, and they have no some of the drivers or adults, they're a bit timid and shy, like, okay, you can see, okay, well, how does a tree look like, and which type of tree, and what are the proportions, and how do I get this right? With kids, you don't have that. They just go for it, and what comes out is a very unique tree. But what already looks very cool, having seen so many trees getting drawn the last couple of days, is the variety. So, and that's where there's also a strong link, I think, because nature is so diverse, and it's the biodiversity that makes it thrive, and we depend on. And exactly that I wanted to put in the project as well, that every tree is allowed, and I want them to be different, and I don't have any limitations. I said, no track limits here. You use the colors you like. The trunk can be purple, the leaves can be blue, it doesn't matter. So I'm really looking forward to the picture we create.
I'm going to push you on this. I think Charles Leclerc has got an artistic bent. I'm imagining his tree was spectacular. That's what I'm thinking. I haven't seen it.
Well, you will see all of them, so I'm not taking anything away. I can give you that, though. Lewis's Lewis had a different approach. Let's put it this way.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Well, it seems that you have a real rapport with this country. As I say, you were here last year. You won 3 races here. You won a world championship here. There's something about Sebastian Vettel in Brazil. So, congratulations on everything you're doing here.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Salesforce, a global partner of Formula One. Formula One drives fan excitement with Agentforce, the powerful AI from Salesforce. As Formula One fans, you know there's excitement everywhere you look in this sport. You might love the split-second decisions that make or break a race, the rivalry between drivers, or the amazing sight of cars racing down the Las Vegas Strip. Excitement is different for everyone, so the more F1 knows about their fans, the more they can keep each one on the edge of their seat. That's why Formula One can use Agentforce to personalize millions of fan experiences with AI. With Agentforce, they will create more audience segments to send the right message to the right person at exactly the right time. They can speed up service responses by 80%, and even tailor communication styles to fan preferences. The best part, they can do it all with AI agents in the voice of F1. Visit salesforce.com/F1 to learn more about how Formula One drives fan excitement with Agentforce, the powerful AI from Salesforce. What about being back in the Formula One paddock? I wanted to ask you that. When you walk in, all right, it's 2022 was your last season. Do you still, as the swipe gates go ping ping, do you still think like a racing driver when you come in?
No, because you're not, how can I say, you're not racing anymore, so I don't have an objective walking in. I came in for years and my thoughts were hovering around, what do we do with the car? What's the track like? what are we going to achieve? What do we need to pay attention to? But it's funny that simple noise or action of going into the paddock does trigger something. Now, the first time, so I retired end of 2022, and I'm going to be very open about this. The first time I got back in the paddock was in 2023 in Monaco, because I spoke with Stefano in Formula One, and I wanted to present the idea of a project that I had in my head and would like to do. So I said, no problem, I drive down and I meet you in Monaco. I was so nervous the day before and when I was driving down.
Why?
Now I know why. Initially I didn't understand, but I felt like I don't have a job to do in there. What am I going to do? And I don't have a place. Like, I have no shelter. In the past I had my team, and then you have your little room, and that's your home or your place, is where you belong. And now I was when I went to Monaco, I was not lost, but just nervous, because I was like, where do I go? Where's my shelter? I don't belong anywhere anymore. Like, I'm not belonging to a team. I know a lot of people, but I don't have a place in there anymore. Then I got in, I saw so many familiar faces. It was really nice, and it wasn't a problem, because I think as well I've kept a very good relationship with all of the teams and all of the people, and so they were all very friendly and open arms and welcoming. Next time I remember I got in the paddock was here last year, and obviously I had the project and lots of things in my head and to do, but it was a time where, now the retirement has been behind me for a while, but there's still a time where I was sort of orientating and trying to figure out where to go next and sort of what to do for me personally. And coming into that paddock and being here these couple of days triggered something that I sensed a longing to be back. And it was confusing, because it wasn't a longing to be back in the car, like I want to be back in driving. It was more, which after I understood, and I was very open with myself, a longing for structure. So many years I've had a structure in place. There's a season. This is what I did my entire life. It starts early spring, whatever, beginning of the year, even earlier, winter with Formula One, and it goes the whole year. And then you have a break. You have your 2 breaks, summer, winter. You spend them wherever you want, and then you go back, and the structure is in place. I cannot move a Grand Prix because maybe I would like to extend my holiday, or maybe I'd like to go and do this, or I'm busy doing something else. So everything is structured around it. And obviously when I retired, it fell away. Initially it felt great not to have a structure. The first year went by really fast. I spent a lot of time at home, and I enjoyed that. The second year I struggled a bit more, and then Brazil came along, and I, as I said, had this longing of, I want to be back, but then understood it wasn't longing to be back in the car. It was longing for something else, which is, a structure that I wasn't yet able to put in place in my life. And then, closing the loop, long answer, this year I come back in the paddock and I feel really confident that, it's nice to be back, but I think I'm very happy with where I am in my life now, and moving on with what I have to do there, and happy to be just a guest here, or obviously now this weekend being busy with the project and so on.
Said 2 things. One is, you love racing, and suddenly that was cut off, wasn't it? So of course you're going to feel a bit discombobulated by that. But also, I feel people in the paddock get institutionalized, right? We love racing, we love Formula One, and we all thrive on the structure that this sport gives us. So I think you're not alone, I think, is what I...
No, yeah.
Have you talked to Fernando about it when he took those 2 years out? I wonder whether...
Well, he still raced,
so
it was different. But I think, in fairness, Fernando is in a different place in his life. I think what I really value now, and I didn't do it super consciously, it happened subconsciously, and of course it's what I wanted. But and I can't speak for others, but I do think or feel Fernando might be in a different place in his life. Where I'm getting at is, I build, a life outside Formula One. Obviously, probably the best thing that happened to me is I met my wife very, very early. And we built a life together. We've built a home. We got kids, another kid, another kid. And, I loved racing, and I still love it now. I love to follow it and watch it. But it was never my sort of full identity. Like at home, especially when, I got home and then with the kids, whether I did well or not so well wasn't important at home. There was home life. It was just normal life going on. And what I did, of course, it was my passion and so on, but ultimately it was my job. And so there was a clear difference between racing Seb and Seb at home. And with Fernando, I think just because it's a different life, he doesn't have kids. I don't know, he has a partner, but I don't know if he's married. But it's just everybody has, what I'm going to say is everybody has a different life and takes a different path. The path I took, I think, allowed me that, I stopped, but I had already so much built besides racing that the
How much have you missed driving? I mean, the smile on your face when you got out of Senna's McLaren at Imola.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, okay, he's just reignited that little spark. I could see.
And it is like that. And it is like that. The moment I enjoyed it so much, and I wondered, why don't you do this more often anymore? But then I also feel I'm at a different point in my life. I think and I don't mean this in a bad way, I've lost the real drive or competitiveness a little bit. The moment you get in the car, I sort of get that back. But I'm very happy with where I'm now, and I do miss driving, yes, but not to a degree where I'm like, okay, I got to be back in the car. So it's funny.
Do you miss that feel of a quali lap? Low fuel, new tires?
Yeah, I was about to say it's the intense moments that I might miss here and there. Like when I was in Japan for buzzing corners, watching the qualifying on the sideline, I was like, oh, I wish I would be in the car right now, because I know exactly how it feels. Low fuel, that track, new tires. Oh, it's like, I wish I could explain to you how it feels like. But then I was there on Sunday as well, and I saw them coming around, full tank, tires, you got to look after them and manage. So that bit I didn't miss. So it's those moments, or Monaco, or street circuits, when in qualifying, okay, right now is the time, and you're on the edge, or racing when you're in that fight and the intensity, somebody's breathing down your neck, or you're trying to hunt somebody down, and you're in, over the radio with the team, you get all the information and what's going on, and you're reading the race. So bits like that, yes. But like I said, I also feel that there's plenty of other things now that I enjoy.
So we won't see you, in Formula One again. We won't see you in WEC.
I don't know that.
You haven't ruled it out completely?
I haven't ruled it out completely. I tested the Porsche.
How did you find that?
It was fun, to be honest. I mean, it wasn't a Formula One car, but also I didn't expect it to be a Formula One car. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And I can see the element of sharing a car and being more of a team. In Formula One, it's all elbows out. You try to beat your teammate, and it's the same drill. And where am I? Where are the others? So I can see the element of sharing a car and doing something a bit more together, and the endurance side of things being attractive. So I don't know if the right opportunity comes up. I was speaking at the time with Porsche, but it just never really materialized. So yeah, I don't rule it out. I know that I'm getting older, but I'm not old. I'm still in very good shape because I love sports.
Are you still at your fighting weight? You don't look like you've...
Same
You're
weight.
exactly the same.
Same weight, yeah.
How are you keeping fit? Rumor has it you're running these days. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm doing quite a bit of running because I always wanted to run a marathon, so I'm sort of preparing for that and set myself a goal, but let's see if I'll achieve it. But yeah, I usually get up very early. I found a good rhythm at home to start the day very early.
What time?
5 o'clock,
Really?
5:30.
The 5 o'clock club. You're in that?
Yeah,
you're in that
no,
club?
I'm not. I would say 80% of the week, 90% of the week member, and the 1 or 2 days, the weekends.
Is it because you don't
little
need
bit later.
sleep, or do you go to bed early?
No, I also go to bed fairly early. Yeah. Yeah, we love the time with the kids in the evening, and then usually go to sleep together as well. So at the same time.
So what about a desk job in Formula One? The reason I'm asking that is you were being linked. I don't know if it was true or not, but with Red Bull again, and maybe young driver programs, Helmut Marko. Was that in the offing? Is that in the offing?
Well, I probably would say I'm not the typical desk guy. Maybe not yet. I would say very much depends on the role. Now, this is the sport that I know. This is the business that I know. And I think I'm really fascinated and have always been and got more fascinated towards the end of the human element, the psychology behind how a team works, what you need to succeed, how to look after each other. Now I know that obviously inside out from a driver's point of view, but I think very much you can transfer to, teams in general, and then also to life. And I find that just very interesting and fascinating. So it depends really on the challenge that might arise or the opportunity. I'm not, going from team to team or actually doing anything to say, look, do you have something for me? And this is what I could imagine. I think time will tell if, the right thing sort of happens to come up. It could be, I'm not ruling it out at all. It could be very interesting. But in that regard, I'm not in a rush.
Would you like to work with young drivers?
Yeah, I find it fascinating, and especially with, let's all say, my development. I would probably say the only regret that I have about my, not life, but career, is that I realized late how much power in a positive way I have, and influence I have, or inspiration I can give to people outside this paddock. When I started to, I don't know, I grew up with idols in the mid-90s, and I think back then it was a very different time to today. I think it was sort of an understanding that there's certain topics you don't talk about. There is politics, money, and sex that you don't talk about. That just don't talk about these things. When you get any sort of questions, these are the things. And religion was another one. You don't have to say anything to. And nobody, looking back, hardly ever made a statement in Formula One and in sports in general.
Did someone advise you?
I don't know, not actively, but I had when I was in Formula BMW in junior categories, we had these classes, media classes, and maybe it sort of was mentioned there and sort of got stuck, and then I drew the picture of, okay, nobody else is ever talking about this, so it's not normal to talk about this. And then I was so busy when I was young, I was only racing, it was everything I was breathing and eating and doing was racing. And it's good, there was a time for that. And then you get, I think it's very common, or very much the same it has been the same for you, it's been the same for, I think, most of the people. And it's normal and natural that you start to think a little bit of different things. And I had kids, and then it gives you a whole different perspective. And then you start to open up, and I started to open up about my opinions, and taking a stand more regularly on things that I thought were important.
What was the trigger point for that? Was it the birth of your children?
I think so, yeah. I think ultimately yes. And then the sort of years after, and then just our times as well, with topics coming up like such as the climate or injustice, that I started to pay attention to more, and it, or the other way around, maybe it found more resonance in terms of I was listening to it more than before and realizing it more. And then, yeah, it was nice that I found the courage to starting to speak up about it. And the feedback I got was overwhelming. So for sure there were people that were like, it doesn't belong here. Why do you do this? And this is all, and don't talk about these things, focus on racing. And of course, if it wasn't working on the track, it was like, oh yeah, look, now you see you're focusing on the wrong things and so on. But the vast majority was, so nice. So many letters, messages from fans, kids that got inspired. And to be honest, that gave me so much in return that, it just felt right and feels right to continue doing it.
This episode is sponsored by TrueWork. Autumn weather really doesn't mess about, does it? 1 minute it's crisp and clear, the next it's pouring with rain. And if you're working outdoors, that unpredictability can make a tough job even harder. And that's why TrueWork exists. They make performance workwear that's built to handle it all. Hot, cold, wet, windy, and they don't just talk the talk. Every piece is tested by real trade professionals out on real job sites. The brand was founded by someone who knows the reality of physical work, how uncomfortable it is when your gear is heavy, soaked, or gets in the way, so they set out to fix it. From technical pants to base layers and work shirts, to insulated outerwear like hoodies and jackets. This is kit that's built like it matters, because it does. TrueWork were kind enough to send me a few pieces to try out. I chose the M3 Whoopee hoodie and the T2 work pant, and while I'm not on a job site myself, I've been seriously impressed by how warm and durable they are. The hoodie's properly insulated and incredibly comfortable. The work pant is water resistant and fully flexible, which if you're in a trade, you'll know makes a real difference throughout the day, even if you're indoors. So upgrade your day with workwear built like it matters. Get 15% off your first order at truework.com with the code GRID. That's TRUEWERK.com.
Talking about you working with drivers, Lando said something really lovely earlier this year. He said that you send him text messages when he needs them most. And I'm quoting him. He says, I really love Seb.
Yeah, I mean, I follow the sport, I follow the races, I know the guys. Lando, it's funny because I'm a follower. I started coming across his name when he was in go-karts in juniors. I think he must have been 12 or 13 years old. And then I met him in 2015, I believe it was, at the FIA Gala at the end of the year when he was winning a championship in go-karts. And I was at Ferrari at the time. And yeah, so we go back a long way. And I think when I see a race, obviously I see the result and see what's going on. But when I see the interviews after, or you see their faces, and knowing the situation they might be in, maybe not exactly, but roughly, the timing and so on, then yeah, I think there's a lot more to see than what you see.
Have you been impressed by Lando this year, the way he's constructed his championship challenge?
I think I'm generally impressed by him. One thing is the driving, but more so as a human being, how courageous he is to open up, speaking about how he feels. And that blends well with what I was trying to explain earlier, where it was just a taboo. It was just like, you don't talk about it, and nobody did. And then you had this image of racing drivers where machines were so, precise and no mistakes, and it's all racing, and you don't show weaknesses. And this goes across sports. Don't show weaknesses because, you don't want to show to your opponent, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's all crap. I think we are all humans. We all have our, problems that we're facing. And it's great to see Lando being such a role model inside Formula One, but also then especially outside Formula One. And I think that's why also a reason why he's so popular, because he's giving people that something else, not just racing and okay, he finishes fourth and finishes first, and is popular because he wins and popular because because of results and performances. But no, he's giving people something else, and that's what people appreciate. And if you ask people, they're probably not able to phrase it perfectly, but I think that's in essence why he is one of the most popular drivers on the grid. And I think it's such a great thing happening. And of course I also see the comments of others criticizing that part. It makes him vulnerable, it's not good. But I strongly disagree.
He says he feeds off negativity, or he said that back certainly last year, that he actually reads some of the negative comments written about him on social media.
Yeah, interesting. And to answer the question before, I think having said and explained that is the way I see it, makes it even stronger to see how he came back. Because I think there was came back. I mean, he's never really been gone, but there was maybe a phase in the season where he was struggling a little bit more to get that ultimate consistency and that peak performance. But yeah, very impressed with his driving, and I think the weekend in Mexico was probably one of the best he's ever had.
Can I ask you about the two other championship protagonists?
Sure.
Just look, Max Verstappen, Red Bull family. How good do you think Max is?
I think the scary thing is he's getting better.
This is his 11th
We know he's
season.
good. We know he's good, and but he's still improving. He's still hungry. He's still willing to learn. I think he's working very hard behind the scenes as well, and that's what makes him so strong. And of course, he's, I think, blessed with a lot of talent on top of that. But even if he's one of the most talented drivers on the grid, I think ultimately what makes him so strong, it's always a combination, but the key ingredient is his head. I think is in the situations where it matters, he keeps his head and hardly ever makes a mistake, delivers when he needs to, feels the pressure. We all do. I don't think it's possible. Nobody doesn't you don't not feel the pressure. But he's able to find a space in his head where he's able to put that to a side and focus on what matters.
Do you think he'll be feeling the pressure less than the other two because he's a four-time world champion?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yes. Also because he's won the championships. I mean, not a lot of people won that many championships, but I've been lucky to say that I've won a couple.
Four.
I think the biggest relief for me came with the first one. It's just like, it's a bit like the first win. It's like, wow, I can do this. And then obviously after the first win, it's like, now it's clear more than ever you want to win a championship. So yeah, he doesn't need to prove to himself that he can win a championship. Plus, in the position he's in right now, being in the hunt, it's like, okay, just got to do everything perfect, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't.
You say he's still getting better. I wanted to ask, how long do you think a driver is at his peak? I mean, how long were you at your best?
I can't speak for others. If you speak to
seasons?
Fernando, he would probably say he's always been at his best, because in that regard, he's very confident about himself. I think from the outside, it's natural that there is a peak. And you see this in Formula One, you see this across sports. But I think it is very individual, because it depends on so many factors. Speaking of myself, I think you have to distinguish of peak performances and then peak all around. Because I think you are probably able to deliver peak performances for a much longer time than actual peak let's say, lasting peak performance or consistency. Now, for me, obviously, nowadays drivers come in and they're very ready. Like, even you see it with the rookies, they're all doing a really good job. And that's because you start so early and you start to prepare so professionally so early. So for sure in Formula One, the demands are different and there's more and so on. And but I think there's nothing that speaks against being very ready very quickly. I came to Formula One in 2006-07, and I would say already by 2010, obviously I won the championship. I was sort of at my peak. But then in 11, I was much more ready to win the championship than I was in 2010, for example. And then probably, I don't know, strong years, obviously winning the championship. 2015 was a very strong year, 17, 18. And then 19, and in fairness, 20, I was on my way down already. And I'm happy to say that now, because I didn't have that really last ultimate push anymore.
Did you know it at the time?
No, I didn't. I think 2019 was I remember actually, in 2018, I started the season and traveled to the first race, and I felt like I didn't want to go. I wanted to go racing for sure, but I didn't want to travel. It's like, couldn't be bothered sitting a day in the plane again. And that was weird. Like, what are you talking about? I said to myself, "What? You love this?" Of course I do. So I went. For sure I went. And then I won the first race, and then I was like all hyped. Yeah. I went to the second race. I'm going to win. And I won the second race. And then the season went on, and it was a very, very strong season. And then in 2019, maybe there was also a time where the kids started to be old enough to phrase, "Daddy, don't go." Before I always had the looks by the dog, like, he knew when the suitcase was in front of the door that I'm leaving. And it was hard to say goodbye to the dog, but with kids it was much, much harder.
Your entourage at races was very small. If you'd taken your wife Hannah, or even, the kids were small, but if you'd taken Hannah with you, would that have changed
Maybe.
things?
It's a good point. Maybe. But then I explained earlier, I think that we build our lives outside the paddock. And maybe. So that we were traveling sometimes together, but also, it's, the pace is fast, and I'm busy during these weekends, so you don't actually get to spend a lot of time. And then it's really only a couple of days, and often when it's in cities, and I would say we're probably, we like cities, but we're not city people. So the trips that we did together, we enjoyed, but I didn't really have time with them together, and it was on a rushed pace because I was, busy racing, and then I guess you.
But Seb, it's
I'm
that
in a rush.
reassuring presence with you, not to go shopping or do particular things, but just to be there.
Yeah, but I think
that's married life.
Also, my wife Hannah is not that type of woman, and no critic or criticism to anyone who's different. But like I said, I think we had our life at home, and very happy with that. And then kids start, with kindergarten and friends and all this. But then maybe to come back, 2019, I had the same question starting the season, that I didn't want to travel. And then now I know this much better and understand this much better, but it was also coinciding with a time within Ferrari, within the team, where, 17, we started off really well. We were missing ingredients. Mercedes beat us. 18, we were more complete. Our car was better. Our package was better. We didn't make it. Mercedes was stronger at the end of the season, and they beat us. 2019 was a strange year, because our car was okay. Our engine was really, really good. You remember which year I'm talking about? So we struggled to just make progress as a team, real progress. Like, okay, we are, closing the gap, or we are actually getting stronger in developing the car, especially the second part of the season. And I really, really wanted to win the championship with Ferrari. Trust me, now I'm cool, but I really wanted it so bad, and it didn't happen. And 2019 was sort of the break year, I would say, for myself, because for myself, I started to feel like we're not making it. We're not good enough. At the same time, Charles comes in. I think it was 2019. Charles had so much energy. Completely different time in his career. When we finished 5th and 6th, or 3rd and 4th. In fairness, I was spoiled. I mean, I won 4 championships. I won so many races. I had so many poles, whatever. All I was interested in was winning. And that's the sort of athlete I was. I wanted to win. I wanted the biggest trophy. I wanted that, moment on the podium where I knew I won the race. I wanted the Monday morning feeling of I won the last race and feel so good. But the feeling doesn't last long enough, so you got to win another one. And Charles came in, and when we finished 5th and 6th, he was over the moon with the 5th and 6th, because different stage of his career and the first time in a competitive car. So, yeah, I think that's when I started to struggle a bit. Then 2020 comes along, really awkward year with COVID. We're not racing. I get this fantastic break that I never had, and enjoy it so much with the family, and at the same time becoming aware with the kids growing of problems in the world and how they started to affect me, and I'm reflecting them. So yeah, I would say at that time I was probably not on the peak anymore, and with Aston Martin starting a new challenge, I think I was ultimately looking for this reassurance that can I still do this, which sounds silly. Because of course I can do it. I've proven it so many times. But that's also blending in with what I was mentioning about Lando. This uncertainty or insecurity is something that we all have. All the drivers have it on the grid today. I was speaking to Michael about this many years ago. And even he had it. And for me, when I say even, it's because he is the greatest. I grew up, posters of him on the wall. And he was the best in everything I could imagine with racing. And he was insecure? What? You? So we all have that. And I think those years, from a result point of view, of course I would have loved to see, the team growing faster. But they were important for me because I started to feel really comfortable again with my driving. And I think I did have peak performances. So even at a later stage, but overall peak, probably not anymore.
A couple of things I'd love to pick up on. One is, you said you were at your peak in year 3, 2010, your 3rd full season. This
probably the 4th, because then I said the 10 I won the championship, so yeah, it has to be peak. And speed-wise, I think in 2009 and even 2008 was already peak. But then you're not complete yet. Do you see what I mean?
So this is Oscar Piastri's 3rd season. So I'm thinking Sebastian Vettel 2010. This is Oscar's equivalent of 2010.
Yeah, interesting.
How much does he not know? If you sort of
ask him in 5 years. I think it's individual as well. I think he's a very mature head on his shoulders. A lot of racing intelligence. So he will improve for sure, just through time. And you take any other example. You look at Charles today, you look at Charles back in the equivalent 2010, I don't know which year that was. You look at, you take even Lewis, who you could argue, well, he was at the peak at year 1. What I mean is peak performances probably lasts a fairly long time. But if you look at Lewis in, 2014, 17. You look at which for me is one of the most incredible moments of, and I mean emotional intelligence and composure. Lewis in 2021, in that moment where he was not winning the championship. I cannot imagine to be in that position. And I've been in many positions when it comes to racing, blah, blah. But to act the way he did, that alone, or that together with everything else he has achieved, says so much about his strength and his character. So yeah, if you take that Lewis and the 2007 Lewis, they're two different drivers. Take the 2007 first corner in Australia. I don't know if you remember his first.
Of course I do. Round the outside of Fernando.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, first race.
And that's the kind of stuff you do when you are young and innocent. You can still do it later, but now I think chances are different that he would take that gamble. Because all you see at that age is the opportunity. And now with the experience, or later with the experience, you've been through so many turn ones and you've seen so much that you also understand that the race is much longer than turn one. Especially when, take into context, you're in a very good car. You start in the first three and you have very strong pace. Losing a place here and there, you will be able to come back. And you know that after you've had, I don't know, a handful and then more Grand Prix. You don't know that in the beginning. You look at Max in his moves when he was young, or when he was in his first 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and you look at his behavior now. He's much more mature and holding back here. And he still goes for the impossible gaps and makes them possible, which is great and his skill. But he doesn't go for all the gaps because he knows they're not important right now. If he needs to get a move on and overtake, he's probably one of the best, going through the field quickly to make a strategy, a race recover or work. But if he knows I've got time and it doesn't actually matter, he's not panicking anymore. So yeah, where did I start off? Lewis was peaking in year one, but I think he was getting a much more mature driver later on.
On the topic of Lewis, you've had so many shared experiences with him. Your thoughts on him at Ferrari, I'm fascinated by. Both he and Fred Vasseur have said, I think we underestimated how big a change it was to go from Mercedes to Ferrari. You did that.
I didn't go from Mercedes to Ferrari.
No, but you've gone from a British-based team to Ferrari. How hard was it?
Hard? Not different, very different. I loved it. I don't regret it. And I had a fantastic time. To put this into context, I'm German. I grew up, my mother tongue is German. And very quickly it got international because I was racing international. And I was then racing with British teams in Formula One. I started with an Italian team, Swiss-German sort of team, then Italian team, but let's say British teams, and language was always English. And culture in a way was, I would say, the majority English. And then, I adapted and I loved it. I love the British humor. I love the British people. I love a lot of things about it, the racing, the approach. But in a way, I think I adapted. Now, I don't want to say that Lewis didn't adapt or British drivers do not have to adapt. Of course you have to adapt, and of course you're traveling the world, and of course you're seeing things and learning. But I don't know how it is or how it would have been had my mother tongue been English, and I'm not comfortable in a foreign language and then moving somewhere else. Now for Lewis, obviously, happens to be the international language is English. He was with a British team. Every team is different, very different. And he's been with Mercedes for a long, long time. And then the move to Ferrari, for sure, it's going to be a huge difference because the heart and the culture of the team is Italian. The language is English. I mean, he understands everybody in the team, but there is also employees that he doesn't understand because they don't speak English or they don't speak English very well. And if you don't speak a language very well, you know yourself, you get along, but do you really get the people and do you get the culture? And I think that's a crucial mistake that I've done looking back is I learned Italian, I took classes, and I sort of got along and I understood, but I wasn't perfect. And I really, I think going back, I should have really studied Italian more, maybe also spend more time in Italy to really understand the culture more, because culture is also the people. And I told Lewis before when, he made the move, I said, the only advice I can give you, the best advice I can give you is learn the language. Learn it really, really well. Because with that comes, the way to learn a language is you have to expose yourself. So you start to speak to the people. You are in the country where they speak the language. So you're exposing yourself to the culture. So the rest will then fall into place. Now, of course, with racing and when you talk about your setup and so on, you could argue it's irrelevant. It is irrelevant, but for the bigger picture, to get the culture and the spirit, it is so important.
What would a win do for him? I mean, when you won Malaysia 2015, did it change things for you internally in the team? Alleviate some of the pressure?
Yes,
maybe?
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So the longer it takes, the harder it becomes. But I mentioned the example of 2021 and Lewis's character. I think, he has the incredible ability to reflect the situation he's in now, the struggles he might have. And I think he's still in a point of his life where this is what he wants to do. So I think he has a fair shot from his performance, but a lot of things need to come together. You need to have the team, you need to have the people, the timing needs to be on the sweet spot. So it would be great, and I think he deserves if it comes together. But we will find out.
Sebastian, it's been so lovely to chat to you again. If there's one more topic I could ask you about, and it's Adrian Newey.
Yeah.
You know him well. You know Aston Martin well. Is he the magic bullet for that team?
I've been in this paddock for a long time in my life. And everybody is trying to find that silver bullet. Nobody's ever found it. So it doesn't exist. The magic in Formula One starts to happen when everything comes together. Of course, you can argue drivers have a unique position because they drive the car and ultimately need to get it right. And then there is other people within a team that are really key in getting the performances. Adrian is certainly one of them, but also Adrian needs to be in the right environment. But I haven't seen him in a while. But I think he's been such a long time with Red Bull. The chance is definitely there that it sparks something in him, to really take on that challenge, which I'm sure I know he's mentioned and so on, but I think he does have a quality that not many people have, which is he is obsessed with racing. He loves racing. He really is like a child when it comes to motor racing, and that's the biggest driver you can have. So if Aston is able to provide the landscape, the surrounding, for him to find that, to unleash that, then he can be not a silver bullet, but a huge contributor to a great car. But we'll know in a couple of months.
Well, do you think Aston could be the dark horses next year?
I think there's more than one dark horse next year, because you don't know what's going to happen with the regs and how teams will interpret them, which is also the exciting bit. Then there's always the argument the strongest team now will have the strongest chance of succeeding with the big rule change, because they have the strongest organization. So you could argue McLaren is a favorite. Then it largely depends on the PU as well, and the power unit, how that pans out. But yeah, it's going to be the big teams, and Aston could be, I think just from a resources point of view, I know because I've seen the projects when they started and now they are sort of finished. They do take time to, really fall into place with the new tunnel, the factory and everything, the sim. So yeah, I think and their partnership with Honda as well. And Honda doesn't come out of the box. They've had now all these years of experience. So yeah, I think the ingredients are there, and the ingredients have been there for a while, but you see also how hard it is to make it click. I mean, 2023, they had a fantastic open of the season and then struggling a little bit towards the end. And then 24 and 25 was difficult for them. So yeah, the resources are there, the people are there. Why not? But we will see next year.
We will. Well, look, final one. Formula One is 75 years old this year. Do you have a favourite memory in the history of Formula One that you can share with us? Could be your career, it could be nothing to do with your career.
The first thing that comes to my mind is the race I remember is when Senna won here in 91. And because he was so exhausted after the race.
Couldn't get out of the car.
Exactly. He lost the gearbox and made it work somehow. But yeah, glimpse of that. My father was a big Senna fan. And I guess I just sat next to him and watched the races. But that's the first memory I have of Formula One. And then, if I sort of childhood, obviously Michael was my hero. Michael in red meant everything. So a lot of those memories. And then I have to say Bernie, if I think of Formula One, because when I grew up and he made Formula One, full stop.
Do you stay in touch with Bernie?
Yes, yeah. He's here also this weekend. Yeah. I think he's still an incredible person. Of course, whatever he has achieved with Formula One, but especially the way he has achieved it. On the one hand, so clever, but a true gentleman. Everybody's done business with him, and he's done a lot of business. Nobody talks bad of him, and no bad stories about business. It was always fair, and that is his superpower. And with that superpower, he built Formula One. So I don't know if Formula One would exist without him.
And from your own career, Monza 2008. Come on.
Yeah, that was a first, another first. I don't know. I think there's so many nice memories, and what you start to realize later on as well is, I have all the trophies, but it's the moments, the people that you were able to share these moments with. Mostly it's the people, and yeah. I'm appreciating that a lot more now than I was at the time, and it went by so quick in a way because I was so focused, and there's so many races and the usual. Sometimes I wish I enjoyed it a little bit more in terms of taking the Sunday night rather than going back and then being on the bicycle the next morning doing the recovery for the next race, taking the Sunday night and just go out and have a dinner. Which I did a lot more towards the end, but
Fernando
missed in the beginning.
Fernando Alonso said he wished he'd celebrated his wins and particularly the championships more at the time.
Yeah, but then I think it's also supposed to be a bit like that, in terms of not that we did celebrate for sure, and I remember, and I've got memories of the parties and so on, and those moments. A really good one was here, for example, 2012. We had a good night.
It's been such an emotional roller coaster, that race as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember maybe it's a good one. I remember because I had a hangover and I was feeling so bad. The next morning I didn't get like an hour's sleep or something, and I couldn't sleep. And really, really bad shape. And I don't like that feeling. So I went to the gym and went on the treadmill to just try and accelerate the process of getting it out of the system. And there was a guy from McLaren at the time next to me who was like, "Oh, you won the championship yesterday? And you're on the treadmill now?" And I was like, "Yep, 2013 starts here." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, like you could see in his, of course it was just that. And I told him, I'm joking, I had a drink last night, but you could see his eyes when I dropped the line. He's like, "What? Like, no wonder we don't win, sort of. You're back here Monday morning." Yeah, but what I wanted to say is that I think it's also normal. It's the age as well, and it's good that it's like that. You don't think everything and overthink and reflect as much, and you're enjoying that. And looking back, of course, I enjoyed my life. Of course, Fernando enjoyed his victories, but now he would he would enjoy things differently. But that's I think it's just, and it's true for anyone. I don't think it's a Formula One thing, or a Formula One driver thing. I think it's true for anybody. How did you enjoy things in your 20s, and how do you enjoy them now? What's the pace in your 20s, and what's the pace now? I'm not saying that age makes you slow, not at all. I said to Michael one day, when he was turning 40, actually, I told him, "Oh, no, it's downhill," because there's a German saying, like, from now on, it's downhill. And he's like, "Yeah, downhill is faster." So I don't believe that,
Good answer,
downhill,
by the way,
exactly, very good answer, that age slows you down, but it does make you appreciate a lot of things differently.
Certainly does. And I've really appreciated your time. Now, thank you very much, Seb.
Thank you.